Someone who would know more about that is with us on the Vaqueros hotline. He is the senior recruiting advisor there at On3 Sports and, of course, Inside Texas. And great friend of our show, he's our buddy Gerry Hamilton. Gerry, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing? Yeah, I don't have KU number one. Look, Arterio Morris, not there.
He's not?
Yeah.
Big loss for Kansas.
Another incident.
I hadn't heard that. Well, another incident for Arterio, the transfer out of Texas, and had not seen that. So that's a big deal. Where do you think? What's your prediction on Gerry and where Texas will be ranked? Not that preseason rankings matter. We know this is a brand new roster that we're all going to get to know. But where would you have Texas ranked, big picture, when we look about a month away to the start of the season?
Yeah, I would say around 13 to 15, 12 to 15 in that range. Look, I think the guards are really good for Texas. I think they're going to shoot the ball from three extremely well, like at the highest level Texas has since Abrams, DJ, KD, all those guys rolled through. They had some tremendous shooting teams. I think this Texas team is going to shoot 37, 38% from three. So I think this is going to be a very high-level three-point shooting team with multiple guys who can knock down the three and spread the floor. I.T. Horton was a big late addition, in my opinion. And Max Asmus obviously is one of the best players in college basketball. Brock shoots it well. Tyrese Hunter, I think, will have his best season shooting the three. So I think this is a team that has some guys that can really knock down open threes. The whole key for me will be the health of the bigs. I mean, Caden Shedrick's working his way back to 100%. Dylan DeSue's not there. I'm not sure when he gets back on the court. And so I think that's really going to hold the keys there. I think Zarika Nyemna was a really big pickup. I think he's going to be a very good third big for this team. Then you have Dylan Mitchell, how much he improves. I think it's going to be huge for the ceiling of this team. But I really like the guards on this team. I like the young guards too, Kendall Weaver and Chris Johnson. I think Texas has some quality depth at guard. I think they have some really good frontline starters. But for me, if the Texas team is going to reach its ceiling, which to me could be another second weekend team, it's going to be Caden Shedrick, Dylan DeSue, how healthy they are, when they get healthy, then how long does Texas have to put all this together? Because I think they have some really good pieces.
Well, it's very similar to Chris Beard's first year when Coach Beard would say to us that, our challenge now is time. How much time does it take for everything to gel and come together with a brand new roster? But some veteran players, some young players. Appreciate Gerry Hamilton, not just football encyclopedia, but also basketball.
Yep.
Gerry, we were talking about your upbringing. Your father was a football coach. Am I correct about that when you were growing up?
Yeah, correct. For about 40 years in the state of Texas. Friendswood High School, Nacogdoches, Pasadena, Adobe, some places like that. But yeah, so I grew up on the sidelines on Friday Night Lights, man. That was my upbringing. I was a ball boy, and we were actually discussing that on our On Texas Football YouTube live stream last night because somebody asked how nervous do you get during games. I said I was nervous as a kid, man, because like you're on the bus with the team, right? You're 10, 11 years old. You're on the bus with the team. You feel like you're part of the team. The most nervous I've ever gotten was being a ball boy and the teams my dad coached because you really felt like you were part of the team. It was a lot of fun, man. I mean, my dad coached at Nacogdoches, guys, when the district was Lufkin, Longview, Pine Tree, John Tyler, Tyler Lee, Marshall, Texas High, Lufkin, Nacogdoches. One team went to the playoffs.
Oh.
Man, I mean, for a couple of those years, one team went to the playoffs. It was an amazing district of talent. I mean, obviously two started going to the playoffs, but there was a time there where only one team from that district went to the playoffs. You'd have a team that was ranked top 10 in the state that might not even get into postseason.
That's amazing. That is amazing right there. And, of course, as you say that, the geography of East Texas, that's some long bus trips you're talking about. These aren't down the street kind of moves, man. You're going all through the piney woods and all through East Texas. That's a great story. All right, Gerry, let's start with the headline. And I know you've been talking about it since Sunday, but we haven't visited with you. The addition in the recruiting class of Brandon Baker, an offensive tackle, 5-star from Mater Dei High School. Of course, Sark's son, who's on this Texas team, is a walk-on, went to Mater Dei, so a lot of connection there, but huge get for Texas. Now have the number one ranked tackle prospect in the country for the class of 24, and also the edge rush prospect in Colin Simmons. That's pretty good to start your recruiting class.
Oh, that was a huge win for Texas with Brandon Baker. And to me, this recruitment really is a credit to what Sark and Kyle Flood have done at Texas. I mean, before they got here, Brandon Baker's not considering Texas. This was not the place to go as a top offensive tackle prospect from outside the state of Texas, right? I mean, let's just be real. That it wasn't a destination. That kid goes to Ohio State. Texas beats Ohio State, who actually finished second. Oregon third, where his brother played, and then Nebraska fourth. But Kyle Flood's resume for development was huge. Texas moving to the SEC, huge. Steve Sarkisian, as you said, 2 decades of relationships there at Mater Dei were big as well. You know, look, it's one of those things where, and now I'd be remiss if I didn't say Christian Jones is graduating. So a 5-star offensive tackle who plays right tackle for the #1 high school team in the country sees a path to the field at Texas. If Christian Jones was a sophomore, that may not be the case as a starter, right? But it kind of everything fit. The father also has family in the DFW area. On the mom's side, they're distantly related to the Akanas. So Tassili Akana, freshman linebacker, obviously a sister on the national championship volleyball team, a defensive specialist for Texas volleyball. So there were a lot of boxes checked. But I'll tell you the biggest one, I really think, guys, is Kyle Flood's resume for development and where this program is going. I mean, kids see it. I mean, yes, Sark wants to have a strong footprint in Southern California. That's Mater Dei High. That's St. John Bosco High. You don't get those kids over Ohio State if you don't have a trajectory that a kid really likes. And he can say, okay, I can go get developed here. They beat Bama. I see what they're doing on the field. Oh, and I have a great chance to get drafted. Oh, and Kelvin Banks is a freshman All-American. You put all that together, and suddenly Texas it could become a destination for offensive linemen. Just think about where we were 3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and for 12 years, up until 3 years ago,
yes.
on the offensive line for Texas, it was more than a decade of poor play up front, which really was paralleled with the success of the program, without a doubt. Nick?
Yeah, Jerry, this one's a little off topic, but what sports do you not follow religiously? Like, I mean that honestly, man. I'm always so impressed with your knowledge base, and like, I met you through Bobby, but like it impresses the heck out of me every time.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, what's funny is when I lived down in Jupiter, Florida. I mean, I'm a big golf guy. Now I love golf. I don't have time to play anymore, so I mean, I couldn't put the ball and play off the tee, on a good course at this point, but. Like when I lived in Jupiter, I used to do the Honda Classic PGA Tour radio show on Sundays there on ESPN West Palm. I love that. I mean, so for me, it's more college sports though, guys. High school and college sports. I love college football. I love college basketball. I loved golf when Tiger was at his height, right? I mean, great competitor. It just pushed everybody. It was great theater for me. And, he's my age kind of, it's one of those things. But living down there, getting to know a lot of those PGA Tour golfers. So those are really my sports. I'm not a huge pro sports guy. Obviously I tune in to watch KD and some of those guys, right? When TJ was in the league, as TJ, I think TJ and I are really good friends. So I'd watch everything, all his games. But I really love the college sports, and I do love pro golf. I'm not sure I love pro golf now, but I did love it when everybody was playing together on the same tour.
Oh, I had no idea you had the golf background.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have Jerry back on Friday to do a little Ryder Cup preview, but Ryder Cup tees off in Rome on Friday. Hey, Jerry, now with these 2 5-stars, as the foundation of the class. And man, with lines of scrimmage, pretty dang good. What's next for Texas? I know they got a bunch of guys coming in, and we were talking a little bit yesterday about, from the list I saw you guys post of who might be visiting Texas for the Kansas game. It's a lot of guys that they've already got commitments from, with some guys that are uncommitted, and even some guys who are already committed to other schools. I kind of like that, to get them all together and see if they can stir the pot a little bit and maybe flip some guys. Yeah,
it's going to be 2 big weekends in a row because Texas is the host team next week at the Cotton Bowl as well. So they get to bring in the recruits for that game, sit on the Texas side. But this weekend, I think DeAndre Carter, we were just talking about Brandon Baker. DeAndre Carter, the 4-star guard out of Mater Dei, teammate of Brandon Baker. He's coming in. He's an Auburn commitment. He's coming in with both of his parents for an official visit. This one's been scheduled for a while. He committed to Auburn September 3rd over Texas and Michigan State, but he had not made that Texas official visit. Now he comes in with his parents this weekend, so that'll be interesting. He's a 6'4", 340-pound large human that plays that is a guard prospect in the next level. I think what'll be interesting with this recruitment is I think Carter, he was in January 21st with his parents for one of the elite junior days. He really likes Texas. Does he see an easier path, earlier path to the field at Auburn, who's a couple of years behind Texas, obviously in a rebuild right now? So that one will be interesting to see if Texas can go over that hump. But I think you guys know this. Steve Sarkisian would love to add another guy on a modern day. And then in 2025, they got a big-time running back, Jordan Davison, and receiver Marcus Harris, who Texas is all over. So this is a key recruitment for Texas, obviously. I'm really watching next weekend too, guys. There's a chance Ryan Wingo is going to be at the Cotton Bowl, the 5-star receiver on the Texas side as a guest of Texas, right? So I'm really interested to see that game being in Dallas. How many of those Dallas kids are at the game against OU? I know we'll be talking about that next week, but I think this visitor list this weekend is going to continue to build. I'm going to throw a name out. I love to throw names out, the young kids for Texas fans out there. It's a kid, Jackson Christian, out of Port Neches Groves, offensive tackle. He's a junior, maybe a guard, maybe a tackle at the next level. He's coming in. He was one of the most impressive kids Texas had at their June 11th camp this summer, and they offered him. He's 6'5", 290 with an 82-inch wingspan. He's coming in this weekend for an unofficial visit. I actually put in an On3 RPM pick for him to commit to Texas eventually. I'm not saying this weekend. I think Texas is in a really good spot with that kid. So some of these offensive line guys are off the radar a little bit early on, but I want to put Jackson Christian on the radar because I know how much Texas likes him.
Gerry Hamilton, Inside Texas, and On3 Sports, their senior recruiting expert, to say the least, also expert on college football. What should Longhorns' biggest priorities be playing this Kansas team on Saturday? Obviously, this is probably the most dynamic offense they've faced to this point, certainly the best quarterback and most veteran quarterback they've faced to this point. What worries you about this game with the Jayhawks?
Yeah, I think there's a few things here that are interesting to me. One, Texas hasn't played their best ball at home. That's the first thing. But, look, they haven't played an opponent like Kansas to get their attention. I really think this season has lined up from a coaching perspective so well for Sark and his staff, though. And I think this Saturday is another one like that. They play Rice in the opener. Is 100% of their focus on Rice? Probably not, right? They're looking ahead to Bama. So they didn't play up to their standard for this season against Rice, probably. So Sark had a great week of coaching heading into Bama. Then they beat Bama. They come home for Wyoming. Did they play up to the standard they want to? No. Great week of coaching going into Baylor. Now you have the muff kicks, punts, so you got that from a coaching perspective. But Sark can sit there and tell his guys, look, we play great on the road. I want to see that at home. We haven't had – the way we play on the road, we have not performed like that at home. Here's our chance to go – do this in front of our home crowd. 108,000 people are going to be fired up Saturday at 2:30. So I think from a coaching perspective, this season's lined up really well for Sark. Next week, you don't have to give a speech about anything, right? This week, it's a great opportunity for this team to prove we're as good at home as we are on the road, right? So then Jalen Daniels is interesting to me because, Jalen Milroe was a guy that if he got outside the pocket, when he just started running vertically, he scared the whatever out of you, right? Because he has that level of athleticism. Jalen Daniels is different. He's not going to blitz you with speed to the edge or vertical speed. He's more like a running back. He's a patient guy as a quarterback, as a runner. He kind of sets up his blocks. He kind of sees things like a running back. He's not going to explosively make runs on you, but what he's going to do is make you feel like you're playing against a running back when he runs as a quarterback. So there's that. I think one interesting thing to watch is Kansas will run some option stuff. So Texas hasn't seen that this year. So early in the game, does it take the Texas defense a while to settle into that? Because you can practice against it, but you still haven't reacted to it in the game this season. So that they'll run a fake counter and come back option off the backside of that. There's going to be some things they haven't seen. I'll tell you another one for me is Jalen Daniels is a very good college quarterback. I mean, a very good player. He has a long windup. I call it dropping the ball below the water. Like he drops that ball down to his hip and he winds up the throat. He's got a quick arm. Jalen Ford got him last year. I think guys with a longer release, watch for Jalen Catalon, Jalen Ford, maybe to get a pick this week against those guys. Those guys that have the great instincts, that really study film, that can really read that quarterback, he's going to give them an opportunity in the passing game. But I think this game for Texas comes down to offensive, defensive line. Watching the BYU game, I think Kansas is a really good football team, But I do think Texas has an advantage on both lines of scrimmage, especially in the heat of the day in Austin, especially with Kansas only traveling 65 guys, right? It's a road game for them. Texas has an advantage. If the Texas defensive line comes out and stuffs Kansas on their scripted plays, then Kansas could be in for a long day. If Kansas has some early success offensively and maybe hits Texas on some things they haven't seen this year because they just haven't seen an offense like Kansas, then it could be a really good game. I think on the offensive side, if Texas offensive line holds up well and they run the ball, Kansas wants to play a zone. If Texas runs the ball well and could get Kansas out of their comfort zone defensively, I think Texas could have a really good day.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. That's what we needed. There's a good overview. Thank you, bud. Gerry Hamilton, Inside Texas. You also see him on that On Texas football channel on YouTube for Inside Texas all the time, doing great stuff with myself and Rod and Bobby Burton and the whole crew there at Inside Texas. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Gerry Hamilton. There you go. That's the breakdown you needed.